The film opens with a woman named Charlotte, a ballet teacher who teaches children. That day, Charlotte went to the wedding of her friend, Marthe. Charlotte was happy for her and hoped their friendship would last forever. Although modest, Marthe and her husband looked happy, and the guests were also happy. Charlotte herself has a boyfriend named Dag. That morning, Charlotte dropped her boyfriend off at the station. He was going back to his hometown to continue his education, but they were forced to separate for a while. Her relationship with Marthe is still going well. He often visits Charlotte at her ballet class. Charlotte's father has been ill for a long time and is hospitalized. Her mother faithfully waits for him, but his condition worsens day by day. There, her mother said that if she gets a job, it will be all to earn money for the hospital bills. Charlotte actually has a brother named Henrik, but they separated long ago due to financial difficulties. Now, he is married and living happily. As a child, Henrik was placed in an orphanage, while her mother remarried, and Charlotte was born. That's what made Henrik annoyed with his mother and made him refuse to see her until now. Despite this, Henrik remained kind to Charlotte. They went for walks and rekindled their long-lost sibling bond. He even invited Henrik to the hospital to visit his father. Charlotte was truly happy, her smile returning, and she seemed to forget her troubles. Despite their bond, their closeness seemed odd. The next day, Henrik visited Charlotte at her house, and surprisingly, they became intimate. Charlotte didn't refuse, and seemed to want to. The next day, Charlotte returned to the hospital and told her mother that she had invited Henrik to visit her father yesterday. Her mother was displeased, worried that Henrik would be disturbed by Charlotte's presence. However, Charlotte seemed unconcerned. She actually grew closer to Henrik, even returning to Charlotte's house and repeatedly making out. A few days later, Charlotte received sad news from her mother. Her father had died, leaving both Charlotte and her mother devastated. Charlotte then went to Henrik's office and told him about it. Not long after, Marthe arrived at Charlotte's house to offer her condolences for her father's passing. At the same time, Marthe noticed a man in the bathroom. It turned out to be Henrik. The day of the funeral was finally held, and many relatives, including Marthe, were present. There, Marthe asked Charlotte about her relationship with Henrik. Charlotte herself didn't say much, but Marthe knew what really happened. A few days later, Charlotte returned to teaching, but her mother soon arrived and asked to meet Henrik. Hearing this, Charlotte was upset, even blaming her mother for abandoning Henrik when he was a child. Her mother tried to explain that she had to do it because of financial difficulties, and she didn't want Henrik to have a difficult life with her. Hearing her mother's explanation, Charlotte finally relented and tried to bring them together. Eventually, they met, and the emotion was palpable. Charlotte and Henrik's relationship also spiraled out of control. They were often together and, of course, affectionate. One day, Charlotte came to Marthe's house, but there she saw Marthe packing. So it turned out that Marthe was moving away from home. Charlotte was truly saddened by the loss of her best friend. But at the same time, Marthe was angry with Charlotte and demanded that her relationship with Henrik end. Charlotte had a boyfriend, while Henrik was already married. Shortly afterward, Dag returned earlier than planned. He briefly got to know Henrik, learning that Henrik was Charlotte's brother. However, Henrik was the one who became jealous when Charlotte was with Dag. He didn't want Charlotte with anyone else and only allowed her to be with him. After Dag returned, Charlotte and Henrik had a fight over this, but they reconciled and started to be intimate again. Then, one night, Dag stayed over at Charlotte's house. He secretly checked her phone and found messages between her and Henrik. An argument ensued, and they decided to separate. Since then, Charlotte has been alone, missing both Marthe and Dag, while Henrik has also returned to his family. To recover from her depression, Charlotte quits teaching gymnastics and chooses to continue her studies. One day, she unexpectedly meets Marthe again on the train. Although their friendship has been shattered, Charlotte still hopes there will be no resentment between them. Finally, Charlotte and her mother decide to move house, taking their belongings with them, to start a new life. Until the film ends.